All right, we're rolling. Hey, Libra, that's you guys over here. This is Terra Lumination, and this is your February mini generic love and relationship report. Please check out Sun, Moon, and Rising. You know, that's the routine, and it's actually very helpful and very effective. Okay, some people even watch their Venus sign. So, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Now, cards are already well shuffled before we even started rolling, but I'd like to go to the last second so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. I try to keep it as stripped down, bare bone, as simple as possibly can with the least ambiguity, okay? Just want to help you guys out. All right, now before we get into it, hold on. I want to do something here like I've been doing with the other reports. As you know, we have the Terra Illumination Crucible spread. I thought it might help to illustrate this thing. I know this looks like borderline insanity, but it makes sense to Terra Illumination. So the idea is that the Crucible is a structure. This is a structure. It's like a very intense, heavy Super Duty bowl that can withstand amazing pressures as we intimate and separate inside the relationship. So there's you, there's the other, and there's the relationship itself. A relationship has its own identity. If you go deep into the astrology world, then you would understand that. I'm not trying to, force that, but when people look at relationships from like this limited perspective, they're missing out so much. There's so much more that goes on. And when you look at it from this perspective, it really helps. Okay, so you have to understand it's a living thing. You're radiating energy, they're radiating energy, and your whole relationship radiates energy and it absorbs energy, just like a living entity. And there are external influences, okay? But either way, in a conscious relationship, you're aware of all of this and you make the best of it and you treat it like a little family business. What are you growing here? Like a little potted plant and so on. Okay, let's get into it here. So we're not going to go too deep into the astrology, okay, people, because there's a whole separate playlist for that now. I'll give you a couple of notes here, but we're going to leave it at that. I'll show you in a moment. Let's get on with your reading, okay, Libra? So remember, this is not a couple's reading. It's all about you, Libra, but we're factoring a significant other. Now, singles, you can even enjoy this if you want, but please allow for the laws of attraction. You have to understand you're always transmitting and radiating energy, and in which case, what are you attracting back to you, or what are you potentially attracting back to you? So think of it as the what-if energy regarding the other party, okay? Whether you know them or not, just completely unknown, if you're completely and utterly single. The laws of physics are still what they are. Okay, cards are well shuffled. We're going to cut it all up. Bless the cards, bless every single card, bless the whole deck, bless Terra Illumination, bless all you Libras, bless the channel and the technology that we can even do this and the platform and all of it. So this is you, Libra, radiating what you're radiating. Wah, 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 wah. Over here, what about the other? Deep down inside of you, deep down inside of the other, and at the core of the relationship itself. So there is the crucible. This is the living thing that you guys own. So what is being fermented here, okay? And what is happening outside of you, Libra, that is impacting this? Let's start the reading. Okay, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So this is a really splendid card as far as I'm concerned in love, because we're starting looking at new chances, new beginnings here, and you wouldn't have got this unless you'd earned it, Libra. So the question is, what does this look like now going forward? Because there are so many different ways that people define love, and let's be honest, January there was two huge eclipses in that month, and they are still going to be reverberating for some time. And for you, Libras, it was on the Leo Aquarius axis right at the end, and that would have impacted your house of true love and romance, okay? But the thing is, with the eclipses, I don't want to spoil the party, but they tend to like crack things open and break things open where things, let's say, that needed to be exposed are exposed, especially when it's a full moon eclipse right at the end of that month there, the Leo Aquarius thing. And so coming into February, you're still reverberating from what happened at the end of January, which might have been a very unexpected type of energy for a love and relationship. Now, when I'll just go to the chart, let's just give up here. Okay, so now coming into it, we have the sun and the new moon over here, okay, in your fifth house of true love and romance, fun and creativity, and so on. So it's new starts and beginnings. It might not, even though it's very harmonious with you, it might not come out in the way that you expect, but it will come out in terms of new beginnings and ways to optimize your love. Okay, so because of what happened 2 weeks earlier. Okay, let's go back to this. Oh my gosh. So February 4th, go back 2 weeks from there to the eclipse at the end of January, where you might have got dinged in the head like, whoa, what just happened? And then 2 weeks later, oh, and then you hit the new moon. And then 2 weeks after that, there's going to be a huge learning curve for you. Let's just make it, let's do it right now, okay? Over here, February 8th and 9th, the moon will be in Aries. Please pay attention around that time because that's your sign of opposition. Also, Mars is still hanging around at the tail end of Aries, all right? So please allow for that. So whatever is bugging you, whatever kind of doubts you might have, things will make a lot more sense towards the end of the month in terms of realization. New starts and new beginnings, serious, this is very, very connected to the Aquarius new moon early in the month. How that actually translates into a new reality for you, Libra, is a whole other thing because this is very, very brand new energy, so we don't know where it's going to go from here. Let's be optimistic, okay? So what are you radiating? Okay. Well, lucky, 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 lucky you. Having it all. Having the wish card almost like sweet, man. This is sweet. Like you are somehow enjoying what I would think of as higher frequencies of love and almost like a sense of, oh, how should I put this? Like self-love, which is a theme over here at Lumination, where you might have gone through kind of an evolutionary gateway at the end of January, like a big, big wake-up call in terms of true love, romance, and how you are valued and how you are appreciated. And I would say, to me, it feels like it's taking love to a higher level, where you're seeing things and feeling things from a much richer, much more delicious, much more satisfying perspective for you personally. Okay? You might have been on the receiving end of some very, let's say, delicious expressions of love. They might not be in the way that you expected or wanted or think that you deserve, but you recognize them as genuine, loving energies coming at you, very well received for you. And you must be deserving of this too, okay, Libra? You must be doing something right. What are they radiating over here? This is a very, very different energy with the Ten of Wands. My feeling is that we're starting at the surface here, okay? So we might be looking at perspectives just from like, at first glance. Because if you, dear Libra, are feeling like really content in yourself, but it's very much about yourself, and you're not so fully aware of what's going on with the other, and you're actually dealing with a significant other who's actually kind of at a breaking point, then that's actually a bit of a problem. So that's kind of what I was thinking of when I'm switching back again to the eclipse at the end of January, the Leo Aquarius thing that was right on your love and relationship, your romance thing here. And how is that working for you in your greater community and stuff? And then you realize, oh, my relationship isn't what I thought it was, and so you might be happy with what is you're initially perceiving, but deep down, my feeling here is that you might not be aware of actually how much they are struggling in their own way to try and keep it together. It might be a question of honor because they might really deeply, truly love you. It's just that in some ways there's a burden associated with this in which they feel obliged to carry that no matter what. And you might not be aware of it. with such a deep sense of inner contentment and hopes and like wishes for new starts and new beginnings, and seeing the potential here, but being in such very, very early stages yet, you might not have the full picture, Libra, of what's happening over here with a significant other. Okay, so that, as beautiful as these cards are, hold on, I just dropped one of them, a really important card. You know, as beautiful, as supportive as this might be, uh, if you just blink for one moment and actually take a really, really close, hard look at a significant other, and you look at them like, oh my gosh, like, I had no idea. I had no idea you were in such a jam. What's going on? Well, let's have a look. That's why we do these readings. Over here, what about this? Okay. Okay, this makes a lot more sense to me now, because if you go down just below the surface of the relationship and you start getting into the deeper realms here, the subliminal levels, like the history of the relationship, the core, the pulsing heart thing, where oftentimes there's very little language, because a lot of people live their relationships solely through this, where it's all, even if they have to, they they fake it, or they go through the motions to like endure and carry a relationship, like no matter what, because they think in terms of obligations and desires to make things work. I gotta make it work. Gotta make it work. And yet, when you go deep in, like just below the surface, there's stuff that's obviously out of whack here, Libra. Like if you're doing a really good job for like blink, like everything seems to be just fine and you're doing fine and you are happy or loving, and then you look in the mirror, you go to bed at night, and deep down, like almost within moments of, how when we start to relax and things, and we let our guard down, and sometimes like you're just dozing off, and then, oh, what was that? It could be some kind of deep fear thing that wants to be heard. With the Nine of Swords here, my feeling is that you've got a lot of issues that are deeply buried. In some ways, you're probably not even aware of them. And that's a problem. And you could be keeping this to yourself because you don't want to, let's say, contaminate or infect the sweetness that's happening, like, let's say, on the bubbles, on the surface of the relationship. And so let's just keep going. Let's have a look over here. Okay, so I sense this tremendous energy of nobility and dignity and, let's say, honor and respect here from a significant other towards you, Libra, in terms of some of the characteristics that are very important in relationships, things like commitment, honor, respect, patience, endurance, the ability to withstand intense pressures. And I have a feeling right now, Libra, you're dealing with someone who is really, really, really struggling. Now, it may not be obvious to you because you might be very content in your own ways simply because you have a right to be, regardless of anyone or everyone else, everyone or anyone else. So if you're relating, dear Libra, with someone who is like really at almost like a breaking point here, and they're doing everything they can to maintain their dignity, their honor, their respect for themselves, for you, for the relationship, under intense duress, whatever that duress might be. Now, I'm not going to be a fortune teller and tell you what the problem is, but there's something like really profound that is very hard for them to handle. That's what I'm feeling here. And they're doing an extremely good job of handling it. It's just like, how couples do. They go through these phases and shifts in relationships where the relationship is tested to the absolute limits. And then you find out who you are. You find out who you are, and you find out who they are. They find out who you are, and you find out who they are. And that's what happens inside the crucible here. Well, let's just say the relationship is under tremendous stress, okay? Because of whatever's happening with them and whatever's happening deep down with you. Now, I don't know what this is going to be, but we're going to have a look, okay? So with the King of Pentacles here, my feeling is that you are doing an extremely honorable job too of maintaining your integrity. So I feel that there's like a, in some ways it's a very, very old-fashioned dynamic of relationship that I feel here, with all this, with this royalty, this sense of royalty, and how, relationships were back in the old days were had a lot of characteristics of like you have to do it by the book and you have to make everything look right and everything has to abide by like the rules of society and of what works, in terms of respect. And when you make that commitment, when you make that bond, and it's taken to the maximum pressure, then like you really, really find out the nature of the relationship. So my feeling here is that you, in your own way, Libra, are maintaining your integrity of doing what has to be done, being how you have to be in order to represent the King of Pentacles here. Now, I'm not going to. I don't like to read these as people. Okay, I'm just trying to read energy here for you, Libra, as your own story here. So I see a lot of mutual respect and mutual honor and mutual, what's the word? Like integrity. The thing is, you get to the point where it's just like, wow, how much can a relationship take? And some people keep going anyway. They just do that. It's part of a commitment. Like you sign a contract. Some people, they get married and that's a contract and you never mess with that contract no matter what. It's a contract and you've made that contract in front of other people. Now, some, countries and places and people, they make and break relationships like candy bars, just, that sucked. It didn't work anymore. I'm out of here. But I feel that there's so much like respect and honor and commitment between yourself and the other and you, that a lot of things that are going on with them and a lot of things that are going on with you deep, more obviously with them and more internally with you, no matter how stressful they are, you guys are honoring the relationship, okay? Honoring each other and respecting each other. Almost like, to me, it feels like almost like against all odds. But I don't see any kind of solution here at this point in time. I just think this is like a moment of awakening, a moment of awareness that has come about starting at the end of January, but it's going to become much more obvious in early February and much more obvious towards the middle and end of February. Okay, so that new beginning here is going to include the challenges here. So what's going to happen with this? New starts and new beginnings for you. I think of the pentacles as kind of tokens of value. Like, what is the, how are you going to optimize the value of this relationship? How are they going to morph and change and evolve in this relationship? Because I feel that they're at an absolute breaking point in their own way. I feel that you're at a breaking point in your own way. And you're both being very dignified and honorable in a kind of an against all odds situation. So that's very wholesome, because sometimes that's what happens in relationships. People are tested. And then, blammo, something happens and you come out the other side and you are reborn. Okay? Ace of Pentacles, new love, new structures, new values, new understandings, new wealth comes out of the relationship. But the question then becomes like, how do you define that? Like, oh my gosh, what is our relationship now? Because my feeling here is that this cannot endure. This ultimately puts so much pressure on the relationship that something has to crack and something new comes out of it. Let's have a look over here. Okay, well, I think it's a truth telling. I think it's kind of, I got a little bit carried away and over dramatized here, but I think really, in a way, what it comes down to is that something is kind of being crushed down here. I don't see, the classic cards that would indicate that, but I see there's so much pressure here and here that ultimately, in order to respect each other and the relationship and act in very, very noble, honorable ways, you're gonna end up with a telling, like a truth telling, some way, somehow, where either one of you or the relationship is going to force certain kind of truths to come out to the surface that have either been completely denied or are obviously starting to happen anyway. Like the cracks are showing, the pressure's too much for them to carry, no matter how dignified. And so eventually, two people would come together and say, "Listen, okay, okay." It's almost like king to king, country to country. Let's just do this. Let's just admit it, even if it's just one whisper at bedtime. Like, you know what? I I think we've got a problem. And they're like, I know, I was thinking the same thing, and it's really serious. And it's just like, yep, I think it is. Well, do you want to go first and talk about this stuff? Well, I was hoping that you might break the ice. Well, someone's going to have to do it. Let's maybe join pinky fingers and we'll do it together. Whoever talks the loudest is heard the most, and then we'll go back and sort each other out. Okay. So my feeling is that with what's being fostered here and nurtured here is a pressure that's going to increase to the point where the dignity and the structure of the relationship is going to be called out, and there's going to be a truth telling, and it's not for the bad, it's not for the good. It's just to do with the evolution and growth, new beginnings, new opportunities for you, Libra, in love and relationship. Because my feeling is you can't carry on like this. You can't carry on like that. They can't carry on like that. And eventually you guys have to talk. Words have to be spoken. Truths have to come out. And um, let's do this, okay? Just pretend all these lovely cards are here and the reading was completely different, and no, everyone was in complete denial that there was any problem. Then this would be like a fairy tale reading. However, we're human beings, okay? We're all evolving and growing simultaneously, and especially in the context of love and relationship, where it's intense, it's alchemical, okay? Have a transformational effect on them. They have a transformational effect on you. And with the dignity and honor and respect here, it looks like this is going to be conducted in a very, to me, almost very has to be very diplomatic, very delicate, very loving, uh, highly, highly respectful for each other, so that all the good stuff isn't like destroyed or lost. Everything is going to be changing. Everything's going to be starting from new for you guys. Uh, but we don't know what that is yet. And it won't become apparent until words are spoken. Okay? Some kind of truth telling has to happen here. The Page of Swords is like a truth vigilante type of energy. And it's almost like they don't really care about what happens after the truth is spoken. Because when people are living in lies and burying fears and anxieties, when people are, carrying so much weight that they can't really carry, either way, that's unhealthy, and eventually something has to crack. And neither party would know until you've spoken words. And the truth vigilante here is basically like, you know, it's literally like whistleblower energy. Something is going to build up here where there will be kind of like a whistle blowing on the relationship, okay? Because this is untenable. You can't go on like this, okay? So new starts and new beginnings, I would say much more obviously towards the end of the month, once there's going to be some kind of uh, like peace talks, something like that. All right. Okay, Libra, let's leave it at that. I wish you all the best. You know where to come. You know where to check in if you have to. Thank you so much. Bye bye.